Radio Maria Ireland, thank you for your company. Shout out and a wave to everybody on Facebook and YouTube as well. Róisín, there's a fly in your drink.
Yes, I just seen it, Father. A tiny little one, and he's floating around.
We'll charge you extra for that now. You've heard all those jokes, but there's there's a fly in my soup.
No, you're telling
there's loads of those jokes. Yeah, I'll have to look a few of them up.
But that's reality now.
That's right. And it's like, wait, there's a fly in my soup, and it's like, don't tell anyone else, they'll all want one. Extra nutrients there. So he's a friendly fly. He's a Radio Maria fly. Is he alive or dead? Is he doing the front crawl or the backstroke?
Oh, he's moving about, Father.
Is he? Oh,
he's swimming around.
Is he there? Yeah, I know. He's having a great time. That's the local swimming pool for him. There's no worries. We'll live to tell the tale. I'm sure we probably drank or swallowed a few flies.
Well, I took a drink out of it already before I saw him, Father.
Ever tell you the one about the waiting I was at, and the servers were there, and they were giggling away to the servers, and I was sort of, what are they giggling about? It was at the time of the offertory, and they came up with the finger bowl for the washing of the fingers, Lord, wash away my iniquity. And in the bowl was a bumblebee swimming around at an awful rate inside the bowl. And they were just holding and they were trembling with the laughter, like, what's he going to figure this out? Put your fingers in there, see how you do.
Another prayer at the altar.
I wait for him to swim to the other side of the bowl and I give it a quick dip. So, he got left there. I know what happened to him after.
Well, you never know what's going to happen, Father.
You just never know. Now, very good. Nice always to have you in touch with us. Thanks indeed for being part of Radio Maria. Again, the usual contact numbers. You don't have them in front of you there, Róisín. Would you know them off by heart yet, Róisín?
No.
Would I chance you?
No, Father.
She'd fail that one, so oh well. I bet you surely know the telephone number.
Oh yes, 014123456.
There you go. Look, you're halfway there, and you wouldn't have the text one now. 089.
467.
Yes, 467.
2000.
You don't need any piece of paper in front of you. You're flying it. And I'm sure many of the listeners probably have them all out there. Like, would you enough for that already?
Would you ever send me in the message, please?
That's right. So put it on your phone, write it down there, keep it near you, and by all means do text us and do phone us as well. And the email address?
Oh, it was Radio Maria. Is it just...
Info.
I mean the full address, Father.
Email address, info
at radiomaria.ie.
There you
yes,
go. And
yes,
if I'm to write to you, Róisín, what address will I?
Well, you can write to me at Radio Maria Ireland, Unit 8,
Correct.
St Anthony's Business Park, Ballymount Road, Dublin 22.
In your best RTE voice.
Father, please don't ask me anymore.
No, you've got them all. You didn't need any much prompting at all there, so no bother to. So do please get in touch. You can drop a like, drop a comment, do share and everything else. Our social media as well, here on Facebook and on YouTube. We do always like to hear from you. So Dermot, thanks for getting in touch with us there. We're going to play the piece of music you asked for. I know it was played yesterday, but not at the time they had hoped to play it. The Pange Lingua. Are you familiar with the Pange Lingua?
Well, I've heard of it, Father.
If I sang the melody for you. La 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 la. When do we sing that?
Gosh,
I bet you there's a test for you now.
No. It's at Easter time, Father, is it?
Indeed, we could sing it any time of the year, I suppose, really. But it's appropriate for the 40 days and 40 nights that we have coming.
For the adoration.
Correct, yes. It's a lovely benediction hymn. Two of the verses will be very familiar to us, which would be sung traditionally as St. Thomas Aquinas composed it. Pange Lingua, it's called.
Yes.
And we would sing two verses usually during... benediction, but also you're correct on Holy Thursday night as the Blessed Sacrament is going to the altar of repose, accompanying that procession, spending time then with the Lord, of course, in Vigil, Holy Thursday night. We would sing traditionally again the Pange Lingua. So the Come Adore This Wondrous Presence, I don't think it's a fully accurate translation, but it's an attempt. Is it come adore this wondrous presence? Bow to Christ, the source of grace. Here is kept the ancient promise of God's earthly dwelling place.
That's beautiful.
It's a nice English attempt at a translation of Pange Lingua. Tantum ergo, of course. Tantum ergo sacramentum. So that's where the... Excellent. She has her bit of Latin.
Let me quiet now.
Yes. So yes, it's a beautiful hymn. So Dermot, we'll include that in today's Chatechesis for you, and sorry you missed it yesterday. Not to worry. And Dermot was asking an interesting question. I'm afraid I'm not the right person maybe to answer it, or fully qualified, whether the Pope's motu proprio was issued recently in relation to ordering the practice of the celebration of the Mass in the traditional form. What difference will that make going forward? And I think I explained at the time, or at least tried in my own little, more or less layman's terms to understand it, that what the Pope was seeking to do was to allow local bishops to direct the practice of the celebration of Mass in the traditional form, because what he was discovering, and he didn't go into detail on it, but that the Pope Benedict had kind of left it open, sort of general openness to any who again were in good standing with the Church to celebrate Mass in the traditional form in Latin, in the old rite as it's sometimes called, or Tridentine form. And what I think was happening in practice was that it was introducing a certain amount of division in the Church, that you had, I'm for the traditional form, you can keep your Novus Ordo. It was sort of putting people apart.
Yes, not a good idea.
And that's not a healthy, to kind of see that happening and starting kind of arguments and, sort of different camps, not a good thing. So that's my understanding of why Pope Francis says, well, now let the local bishop be approached with a view to the approving the celebration of Mass in the traditional form, and let that be then the form going forward. So it's, some would say, and those who are in the traditional camp, let's say, I hate this idea of one versus the other type of thing, but that it's kind of a clamp down of some kind, or a sort of enforcing of discipline. And I suppose in a sense it is, but it's with the purpose of maintaining communion in the Church, really.
Yes.
So we have, for our listeners here, I think it's worth just referring to, as you know, Róisín, every other Friday in the past we have had the practice through the auspices of the Catholic Heritage Association of every other week having Mass in the traditional form, and having it over the radio. And the Patsy would come in, or John, and would give a little commentary to explain why the silence is, because on the radio it's kind of difficult broadcasting silences, and explaining what that was all about. And I was very happy to see it here when I arrived, and to facilitate and allow this to continue. So for Radio Maria now, at the moment, we are simply awaiting the correct permission from Archbishop Dermot Farrell, so that we can continue to broadcast it. So it's not a case of shutting it down or closing the door, absolutely not, because with the traditional celebration of the liturgy comes a rich heritage of plain chant, like Pangelingua, and so much other beautiful, beautiful music. I was chatting to you yesterday, in fact, about our music policy, where Tara is busy drafting a music policy for Radio Maria, Ireland, let's say. There are guidelines which have come to us from the Royal Family of Radio Maria, which are very good as to how our music should be uplifting, it should be inspiring, avoiding sentimentality or kind of too secular a direction, that all our music should really lift the soul in some way, even if it's instrumental in that. So we've been just working on that, and Tara's the right person, I think, for the job.
She's a genius, Father,
She's well able. She had a beautiful show last evening on Hildegard van Bingen, her Saint Hildegard. Listen back to the podcast for that. It'll be repeated, I'm sure, too. But there's just so much beautiful, beautiful music that you wouldn't otherwise hear, even on the likes of classical radio stations. You still wouldn't hear the kind of uplifting and enriching music. So as far as the tradition of the Church goes, all the polyphony, Latin, English, many languages of course, and the plain chant are just a huge musical resource, and they find their home properly in the liturgy, especially the Mass, So I would be very slow to push out the door or cast aside altogether Mass in the traditional form. And I would hope indeed that Archbishop Dermot would be open to us, allowing us to continue that practice. And again, it comes down to obedience, and he might have to take a wider view on it himself. He might see things a little bit differently. Would he see that maybe we're setting ourselves up somehow in opposition. And
no.
I would hope not. I mean, if
No.
it's a fortnightly occasion, I think it's good to keep it in mind. Of course, others would argue maybe it should be weekly or it should be daily.
Yes.
You know,
No.
I'm not going to go there at the minute.
No. Well, I remember, Father, when we was growing up, sure, it was Latin Mass. It was wonderful, you know.
Yeah, I'm a post-Vatican II baby, really. Well, I was born in the middle of the Second Vatican Council. We wouldn't know anything about it,
Yes,
really.
yeah.
But I did have a lovely experience of it when I was living in London. There was a lovely priest there who every Sunday it would be Mass in the traditional form. And just picked up a lot of the lovely chant as a result, and the lovely music with it,
Beautiful.
and devotion that accompanies it, and prayerfulness, and the sense of the sacred, which I try to carry over into the novice order, the Mass that I celebrate every day, obviously.
Yes.
Try to hold on to that. So Dermot, that's kind of my I say layman's response, because again, having being a post-Vatican child,
Yes.
and not having been brought up with it,
Yeah.
maybe a little different.
Well,
And would you have memories? I mean, would you be able to compare and contrast?
Yes, I'd remember it, Father, and I remember the first time I heard it in English, I was surprised.
It was
you
new,
know.
yeah.
I knew actually what they were saying.
Sure.
But it was lovely, Father, you know.
Yeah, in its own way. And would you have a preference then, do you think, or would it?
I know, I think, Mass is Mass, Father, and that's it, you know.
I think that's the right
and
answer,
it's
really.
I mean, even in whatever language, it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's honouring, Jesus is with us, and so no, sure, He created many languages are in the world, Father.
Well, this is the thing. I think that's part of the understanding, to open the accessibility to the Word of God and to the prayers of the liturgy, again in the vernacular, to the people at large, let's say. But again, I'd certainly be in favour of fostering and preserving the rich heritage that is already ours too.
Yes, absolutely.
Again, without introducing any even hint of division or
no, there's no
them
dividing.
versus us. None of
No
that,
dividing.
No.
We're all there for God.
One of the key motivations, I think, though, for many who love the traditional form is reverence in the celebration of the liturgy.
Yes.
And that's where, indeed, there's a lot of work, I would suggest, needs to be done. The local priest certainly has, quite a responsibility to make sure the Mass and custody of the Blessed Sacrament is, treasured and held on to.
Yes.
And that's more easily facilitated with the Mass in traditional form. It's sort of really well built into it. So it's a tricky enough one in its own way, and an area of great importance for the priest and responsibility for the priest too. And it can be difficult to reverse abuses. I've had some of those confrontations myself, sadly, from time to time, where there's a confusion of roles. The priest should be allowed to do what he's called to do. I've had that experience now going around promoting in parishes where the priest, for instance, only a small thing but important at the same time, the priest is the ordinary minister of Holy Communion, and lay people can be delegated as extraordinary members, ministers. So if there is a priest present, it's the priest who should be distributing Holy Communion, say over and above the extraordinary minister. And that's to get the understanding of the roles correct. So I've had an occasion where I've just been left sitting down, and you kind of think, well, what was I ordained for? Does this make... So it's...
Yeah.
And when you get that sort of confusion entering in, you start to undermine a little bit, in small ways, but it can add up, undermining faith in the real presence, undermining again, not me as a person, but the role of the priest as an alter Christus. You can muddy the water in these things and end up losing, the sense of the sacred, the sense of what's going on here, heaven and earth uniting on the altar. You can kind of, the sanctuary becomes a stage, and all these performers up there and all that kind of stuff. And it's a mess. It's a mess. So I have great sympathy for those who really appreciate the traditional form, and would my heart is with you all the way, Anyway, it can be a tricky one, because liturgy is one of those ones that can be contested and can generate, and it's a pity if it does generate division. So there you are, Dermot. Listen, thanks for getting in touch. We do appreciate your contact with us, and thanks for that. It's a good topic to return to, indeed, often as well. So now we were in Booterstown during the week, Róisín.
Oh, it was an absolutely wonderful day, Father, and the wonderful young people, the amount of people, Father, there, it was fantastic.
It was a fine crowd. Yeah,
it was really lovely. Now, I hope my fly isn't with you,
Well,
Father.
I checked my water there. No, there's no foreign bodies in there.
No, he's
I
still
can tell
here,
anyway.
I can see him. Yeah, no, it was lovely, and the people were so welcoming, Father, and delighted about the station, which was lovely, you know.
Yeah, they were a lovely welcome too. I was saying it earlier on in the week, actually. The president of the parish pastoral council came in to greet me and welcome me. So it was a very nice little touch. Marion was her name. And the priest was very welcoming and open as well, delighted each other we were there. A big long chat with the sacristan as well. Paddy, I think was his name. But a beautiful church, lovely little church, kind of tucked away a little bit.
Well, really beautiful. You wouldn't even notice it.
And it's relatively compact inside too, which means there's a nice sense of community there. And a nice kind welcome. And so it's been the way, all these wonderful churches that we've been visiting. And we're going to Charleville now, down to Cork this evening. So I'll come back with a bit of an updated Cork accent. That's kind of a city accent really. But so down to Charleville. And it was Charleville where I met Aidan. I'll tell you that story.
Really? No, you have to tell me that,
back
Father.
in 2014. Our own Aidan O'Rourke here, of course. He's from Kilmallock, which is up the road a ways in Limerick. Charleville's on the Limerick border.
Right.
So we went there back in 2014 trying to start a Legion of Mary Presidium, and there was a few legionaries came down from Dublin, and we spoke at the Masses. So I'll be doing the same now this weekend, speaking at Mass with a different hat on. And it was the Sunday evening Mass. Aidan and his brother were there. Daniel's a lovely fellow as well, genius of a man. And we were having our Legion meeting straight after Mass. And so we twisted their arm, sure, come on in, we're having the meeting now, you might as well come in your and he did, and sure, in fairness, stuck with it for a good bit and learned a bit more about his faith and that. And it was kind of a new departure for Aidan. And it was from there then that he went to the seminary to try out his vocation, and he discerned that it was not for him in the summer of 2017, which was the very summer I came here. I was in touch with Aidan. I wasn't sure whether or not he was going back to seminary. I said, look, you're off for a few weeks. Would you come on over to Radio Maria and say hello? And to be fair, he did, and he stayed.
Oh, he's fantastic. He is fantastic.
So it's the Charleville connection.
Oh, that's brilliant, Father. So you never know who you're going to meet now when you're back down there.
You wouldn't know if Aidan could look back 7 years ago now and say, I never knew I'd be getting myself in this deep, you know.
Well, he's still studying all this wonderful religion.
He's doing grand. He's done a great job here now, in fairness, and he's grown into it like we all have in a way. We kind of figured it out as we've gone along, you know. So it'd be nice to go back to Charleville if you're in the vicinity on the Limerick border there, up towards Kilmallock or back down towards, is it Milford and Cork, Ballyhay, all the surrounding areas there. Ballyhowra would be the name of the kind of district or the sort of land, if you like. And there was a radio station there that I was involved in, Ballyhowra Community Radio was there.
Wow.
And used on a Sunday, I used to up and do a programme there with them. And it was great fun, little, a couple of rooms in a house where they had it set up. And it was a bit of fun. I got to learn bits and pieces of radio.
That's how you studied, Father.
What was interesting when it came up, I said, I'll give that a lash, why not? It was back around 2012 or 13, I suppose. But it was funny how that kind of came to be. And then they went bust, I think. I don't know if it's back up and running now since, but they ran out of funding. So it was a nice little thing, nice adventure. But it's sort of set the pace a bit for Radio Maria too, you know.
Very trained you, Father, to do the wonderful work you're doing here now.
A small bit anyway, in terms of not being afraid of the microphone. So listen, if you're in Charleville, the Masses tonight 6:30 this evening, and tomorrow morning 10 and 12, and then tomorrow evening at 7 p.m.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, the evening Sunday Mass is very popular because it's kind of a handy one to fit it in,
Yes.
I think they have a webcam too. If you want to watch in, you're welcome to have a look, certainly. So, very good. Do please check that out. Now, we might pause for a little piece of music, maybe, Róisín. We had the Pange Lingua, as requested by Dermot to play for you. Beautiful Eucharistic hymn. You'll certainly recognise the melody. and certainly the words are very beautiful in their own right too. So again, we do like to hear from you. We do like to be beside the seaside. What's that just came into my head there?
Do like to be beside the seaside.
So we do like to hear from you. 089467200 text and WhatsApp +353, of course, if you're in the north or outside of Ireland. Drop a comment here on Facebook or YouTube too. I'd like to hear from you by those means, or give a call 014123456. Catherine's very kindly come in today to answer the phone. She'll be glad to hear from you. And if there's two calls at the same time, well, Thomas is there to pick up the phone too. 014123456. You may well have some thoughts yourself on matters liturgical or the traditional form of the Mass, or maybe some of the ways that the Novus Ordo, the new rite, is celebrated. I know a priest who describes some weddings and some funerals where the congregation hasn't darkened the door for a little while and the responses are not exactly forthcoming. Excuse me. He describes it as the Lord be with me as opposed to the Lord be with you, because the Lord be with you, and it's like anyone there, so the Lord be with me.
With us all, Father.
And it's difficult. I understand that. I've often had that experience myself where the responses are a bit wanting because people haven't been for some time. But, it's no reason to get upset or to get offended, because, here they are. What I do in those circumstances, I make the best of it and try to say, look, I invite you now to stand and I invite you to participate in the prayers, as best you can. Do join in with me and sing along with me as well. I try to connect in a little bit at a human level without kind of turning it into a sort of a chat show either. But at the same time, just encouraging them, look, participate. We're here for the deceased, or we're here for the couple who are getting married. Do join in with the prayers. And at communion time then, sensing that, maybe they haven't been for a while, they might not know what to be doing or think, this is all. I would always say, look, you're very welcome. Do come forward for a blessing if it is that you're not a Catholic or you've been away from the sacraments. Put your hands on your shoulders. I'll know to give you a blessing. So you're very welcome to come forward at communion time. And universally, I've never had any issues with that. What I found is it means that people understand now that, okay, if I don't want to come for a blessing, I stay put.
Yes.
Knowing that I haven't been to the church for so long. And they do. And people simply, that figures. It's like, you're in a golf club, you don't bring a hurley with you. That this is how it is. Yeah. And this is important. Again, not to trivialize it in any way, but to help people understand. So it's a great pastoral moment to
it is, and it's letting them know that they're welcome, Father.
Correct. Correct, yes.
And they're very well. God is welcoming them back.
And do come again.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Good, we'll pause here then. Thanks indeed for chatting with us and tuning in with us. So the Pange Lingua, Eva has it lined up for us, and for Dermot Quigley especially. There, thanks Eva for that, of the Tantum Ergo, the Pangaea Lingua more accurately, the hymn composed by St. Thomas Aquinas for use before Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. I think arising out of a Eucharistic miracle, is it the one at Orvieto, where the blood-stained corporal was shown to the Pope and he knelt before it, acknowledging the real presence, and ordered adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. And so Thomas Aquinas then was commissioned to compose some beautiful hymns. There's the other lovely one, the Adoro Te Devote. I know if you probably know the melody of that one.
I've heard that one, Father,
Adoro Te Devote, Latin status, Godhead here in hiding, whom I do adore. Beautiful hymn as well.
Yes.
So thanks for that, Dermot. These are beautiful hymns that we should indeed feature regularly on Radio Maria. They really touch the heart. They kind of inspire.
Beautiful,
they
yes.
recollect for us maybe a time spent in adoration.
Absolutely.
Too, but the literal translation there, just the last two verses are the ones most familiar to us. That is the one that this particular website offers, chant website, Tantum Ergo Sacramentum. I'm not sure if it's that accurate in word for word. Down in adoration falling, lo the sacred host we hail, lo o'er ancient forms departing, newer rites of grace prevail. Faith for all defects supplying, where the feeble senses fail. So what we see and what we adore, it has the appearances of bread, but it's the consecrated host. So faith tells us it is the real presence. To the everlasting Father and the Son, who reigns on high, with the Holy Spirit proceeding forth from each eternally, be salvation, honour, blessing, might, and endless majesty. So really giving praise to God.
Beautiful, Father, yes.
Yeah. And then there's the invocation and prayer at the end of benediction. The words won't come to me. I know them in Latin. You have given them bread from heaven, having contained or having within it all sweetness. That won't come to my head now. My head is and then it's a lovely concluding prayer at the end. O God, who in this wonderful sacrament left us a memorial of your passion, grant, we implore you, that we may so venerate the sacred mysteries of your body and blood as always to be conscious of the fruit of your redemption. So we venerate the sacred mysteries of your real presence, that we might be conscious of the fruit of that. We talk about the seeds being sown in rich soil and bearing fruit. So adoration has that wonderful effect upon us. So this Wednesday coming, we have our 40 days and 40 nights.
That's wonderful, Father. My gosh,
it's
fantastic.
Brilliant. Thanks be to God. John is a great powerhouse, really, of energy, himself and Paul. And there's a few others, Damien and Nobby and Maura Clark. Great stalwarts all together, organising 40 days, 40 nights. We failed in our last attempt, which was from Ash Wednesday of last year. And COVID, of course, just walloped us all.
Yes.
Yep. And we got 26 days done. And St. Patrick's Day then was the day I got sick, and the following Friday everything just fell apart. So unfortunately, we tried to recommence it in August after the first lockdown, and that tried and failed again. So now we're trying it again, that restrictions have lifted and we can safely gather in reasonable numbers, not overcrowding or anything. So if you'd like to participate in that, please do get in touch with us. We'll pass your details on to John Carlin, and you might like to spend an hour or 3 here, or an overnight perhaps, for those 40 days from next Wednesday. And what I will, please God, certainly arrange to do is share with you online, on the radio, and on Facebook Live maybe as well, a time of adoration with the Lord. Just set up the camera downstairs and link into the radio. So that would be nice to have our hours of prayer. I'm thinking maybe Divine Mercy hour of prayer from the chapel, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
So please God, we'll just put that in place for you as well. So if you'd like to participate, again, get in touch with us. Give Catherine a ring straight away there, 014 123 456. Put your name down and we'll pass that on to John. He'll timetable you a slot. He'll get in touch with you and let you know when is a good time to come and participate in our 40 days and 40 nights of adoration for faith and life. They're the two headings there. Now we're at Booterstown. You picked up a copy of this yourself, I think, Róisín, the Cry
I did,
of the Earth.
Yes, I did indeed, Father.
You didn't have any chance to flick through it or
only
anything?
A little bit of it, I'm afraid. So it was very interesting to see it. It was our lovely new bishop, isn't it?
Yes, Archbishop Dermot Farrell. There's a nice little document there, pastoral letter for the season of creation, the cry of the earth, the cry of the poor. And speaking about the climate catastrophe, creation's urgent call for change. And I don't so much actually, it's the climate is the catastrophe. It's we're the catastrophe. I mean,
by throwing everything around the place.
Picture tells it on the front, doesn't it?
Yes.
The trash. We're trashing the earth.
Yes.
So I don't know that it's, there might be another way of phrasing that it's our fault. Tidy up your act and be more mindful of the creation and its blessings. And in turn, then, I know that Pope Francis has in mind too, is if we're mindful at least of creation, well, that's a start. That might make us mindful. We have to think of others, at least the people coming after us, if not the people who live next door to us.
Exactly. We're causing a lot of damage to the world.
Unbelievable. And then we might also, with this in mind, think of God. Like God put the creation here. We're not in charge of it.
No.
We don't own it.
No.
We're passing through. And you want to wreck it, well, we have to account to the Lord for that.
Absolutely, yes.
And in the measure in which we're wrecking the environment with all our trash and litter and consumerism, it's a reflection of maybe how we're disregarding and treating one another with the same kind of consumerist attitude, using other people rather than serving them.
Yes.
So this is the great tragedy of the destruction of unborn life in the womb. There's a kind of utilitarianism about that, which says this is dispensable, and it just freezes the heart to think about these things. Really, it's awful. So, is that reflected in how we're trashing the environment? I would say
it's a bit like, Father, that people decide they can just do what they like. And it doesn't matter, like what their damage they're doing, and like particularly having abortions and the poor babies to suffer. And then the poor woman, I'm sure in God's name, that she'll have to come to terms with that, to accept that, what she'd done, that it was killing of a child. So
And the consequences on that upon the family and on the extended relatives, on the community. Again, quite like the environmental mess, again, the two go together. You can't separate one from the other.
No.
So in fairness to Archbishop Dermot, he's the cry of the earth dash the cry of the poor.
it's very good, Father. Absolutely.
So we have some serious, facing up to our responsibilities to do.
And I saw it, Father, actually a programme, and they had it on the television, and they had lads out on boats picking the rubbish up from under the sea.
Oh yes, yeah.
So it carries out, it gets carried out.
It does, of course. Sure, all these plastics and all these other things. It's pretty desperate stuff. So we all got to, like the what do they call that? Gosh, the name's gone for me. The tidy towns. Tidy towns.
Yes.
The wonderful local volunteers.
Used to do all of that years ago, yes.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Get out and have a Saturday morning, spend an hour, get a black plastic bag, and
pick up the rubbish,
pick the trash up around the ditches and so on. And in so doing, then making yourself visibly an icon, I suppose, or making people aware of that this dirt needs to be tidied up. It's a great service to do in the community, and I've seen certain towns are lovely. And the Tidy Towns competition is actually a great idea to motivate people to...
There's a competition between each town.
Clean up your act. Yeah, it's actually a very good idea. So somebody has to do it, and there'll always be those who will want to trash the place, so we have to keep working on that. But if that's true at the natural order of things, in terms of, again, trashing the environment, again, keep the link all the time open to the supernatural. We can trash the environment of the soul
very much
equally and easily, and that's far worse of the two. So it's quite visible to see how we can trash the environment, but again, are we aware of the spiritual damage that we sometimes do to ourselves too, and to others? So it's quite a call, and it's very appropriate that we should be focusing on this, not so much as eco-warriors or tree huggers, who are all good in their own way, all good in their own way, but go the extra level, go the extra, push into the situation a bit more. You never heard of the eco-warrior's dilemma? What would you do if we saw an endangered plant eating an endangered animal? How would you respond?
That would be a hard question, Father.
It's a hypothetical dilemma, but you're left with priorities or whichever here. But no, it's a great topic, and it's worth keeping before us in the light of souls, ultimately. Yes. And Frank Duff, I thought, had the right idea. He said, well, look, if you can help draw a soul back to faith, to prayer, to the Lord, then you're actually helping with this problem of the environment.
Of course, they'll know what's right and what's wrong.
Correct. And you're helping those, again, build a culture of life and respect for life, if you're drawing them back to faith.
Yes.
So Frank would not be one for kind of getting, flying a flag and getting onto a crusade on these things. No. He would say, well, draw them to the Lord, draw them to faith.
Yes,
all these other things will
then they'll realise what's right and what's wrong.
Correct. Now, our time has escaped us, as it so invariably does. It's all too quick. So thanks for your company. Thanks, Róisín.
Thank you, Father, so much for all your wonderful information.
There we are. We keep throwing it out there as best we can. And thanks to our listeners. Thanks to Dermot there as well. It's nice to get little prompts by way of animating the conversation. A listener texted in there, said, would we give the postcode, the full postcode? I don't even know what it is. And we have it written down. It's on our literature instead of just Dublin 22.
All right.
Now, would you know the postcode?
Sorry, Father, but we would come anyway.
We wouldn't have a clue.
We get it anyway.
And if you really want the postcode, you actually Google it and get my air code and punch in the address, and it'll actually give it to you. In which case, we could learn the postcode off and not give the rest of the address, because all you have to write on the envelope is the postcode, and it'll get here.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know that, Father.
It's an individual code for each premises, so it's D22 or W72 or something like that. Right. If you just put that on the envelope, it'll find us.
My gosh.
There you are.
You'd be the poor postman having to work that one out, Father.
Well, that's a fair point, actually. How would he know where the heck this place is? Yeah. Anyway, thanks for that. Well done. We'll take our leave of you. We've run over time. I will lose my good job that's giving out in the studio here when we run over time. Mea maxima culpa to all those who are editing this file afterwards. You'll kill me. Time for our Angelus and midday prayer.